Well, warmest greetings to you, ladies and gentlemen. It's high noon, and you know what that means? That we're coming to you live here on the Christian Whistleblower channel, live from an undisclosed location in the American heartland, straight into your heart. That's what we hope at the very least. Very interesting, something that I came upon. Well, I put these things in my bookmarks, and they stay there until, sometimes I'm thinking, oh, let's change it up. Let's talk about something different. What was I thinking about? And I go back in this one and I find this talk about, ladies and gentlemen, something called blood guilt. It's a Judeo-Christian concept that is supposedly, if you're a Judeo-Christian person or of Judeo-Christian mindset, that is of eternal, it's eternally valid. It's of eternal. My vocabulary is fleeing me right now, but it's of eternal. It's eternal doctrine. It's always around. It has to be followed through and carried out. So when you talk about something like this called blood guilt, and when you realize that it's eternal in nature as far as its bindingness upon those that are of Judeo-Christian thought, it really becomes very, very sobering and takes on some very heavy energy. And if you are, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm trying to kill time and look for it here, if you are of the Judeo-Christian mindset, then this is something that you have to deal with. And how you deal with it is up to you. It is in perpetuity. It does stay around forever. This is something, I think, eternally binding is what I was looking for. But this is something that you have to deal with. And that's okay, because I'm here to help you out. I'm here to offer my assistance to you. Philip Blair says, I'm not sure if I'm Judeo-Christian, but I'm definitely going to be tested. Philip Blair, do you think, going back to the show that we just completed at 11:11, that maybe when you say, I'm going to be tested, then that makes sure that you're going to be tested? What if instead you said, I'm Philip Blair, and I'm going to have a beautiful, smooth existence? I'm just asking. Just something to think about, something to ponder. We talked about it a few minutes ago. Our world is built with the words that we speak. Our words are either a building block or a wrecking ball to the life that we want to live. And Tony Robbins once said that we, ladies and gentlemen, our lives are determined by the quality of the questions we ask ourselves, and they're also determined by the quality of the words that we speak. It really is. I'm not sure if I'm Judeo-Christian, but I'm definitely going to get tested. I got you. I'm going to get tested for it. I got you. All right. See, so serious sometimes in my thoughts. So with that, let's segue right into, oh, and by the way, I've heard both from Laura Eisenhower and Magenta Pixie, somewhere between June 24 and 30, we will have the epic broadcast of those two right here. It's going to be at 2 p.m. Central Time. So I'll give you the details as they come. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at this blood guilt. And it's coming from the Jewish Virtual Library. So this is something that is authoritative within the Hebraic and the Judeo-Christian culture. And it's this concept of blood guilt. And you can read it, but I'll read it to you as well, because some of you are driving down the road and operating power tools and things of that nature. Blood guilt, says the Encyclopedia Judaica, blood guilt is liability for punishment for shedding blood. Liability for punishment for shedding blood. The biblical concept of blood guilt derives from the belief that deeds generate consequences in that I'll extrapolate. The shedding of blood is a energetic danger to those that shed it. The most vivid examples of this belief appear in conjunction and connection with unlawful homicide, where innocent blood being shed calls out for vengeance. Blood guilt attaches to both the slayer and the family, and even to his city. Ooh. In the case of lawful execution, the blood of the guilty victims remains on their own person and does not attach to the executioners. And the concept of blood guilt in the Bible pervades all sources, legal, narrative, and cultic, and entails the following system of graded punishments for homicide. I'm going to skip this from you, but deliberate homicide, the penalty is death by man. There is no commutation of the death penalty. The notion that deliberate homicide cannot be commuted is the foundation stone of criminal law within the Bible. Human life is invaluable, hence incommutable. This concept is not found in any other body of law in the ancient Near East. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Liability for punishment for shedding blood. He who sheds blood, he who sheds innocent blood, is guilty of unlawful homicide, and this guilt for murder cannot be commuted. This guilt for murder extends to family. It extends even to the city, and it must be answered, and death must be administered by other men. It can't be commuted. There's no doing away with it. It's the very basis, foundation stone of biblical thought and biblical morality. Think of the implications of this, ladies and gentlemen, to those that believe in the Judeo-Christian religion and those that are of the Judeo-Christian mindset. You can't read 20 pages in the Bible, open it up somewhere, read 20 pages without finding the entity known as the God of the Bible killing somebody. Or probably more correctly, the entity known as the God of the Bible directing a person to kill somebody. Why do you think it is that the God of the Bible is not shown killing anybody himself, but he's directing other people to kill people? Is this God of the Bible trying to say, or trying to, in his twisted way of looking at things, trying to keep himself free from blood guilt by passing it on to his followers? Is the Bible God little more than a celestial Charles Manson? Is he little more than a cult leader who is either unwilling or unable to do his own wet work? Or is he so cowardly and so cunningly psychopathic that he, in an attempt to avoid blood guilt, will have people do it for him? That's an interesting discussion. So if you're a Christian and you are hailing back to the Judaic roots of your faith, according to what is called by the foundation of your faith, according to that, this idea of blood guilt is an immutable, eternal rock and foundation of doctrine and belief. You bear guilt and responsibility for the blood that was shed by those within your belief system. Blood guilt attaches to the slayer and his family. I'm so glad I'm a part of the family of God. Oh, the family of God. And it for generations. We are a chosen priest. We are a royal priesthood, a chosen generation. Uh-oh. I'm the family of God. Ooh, I'm a chosen generation. You're the city of God. And guess what? Blood guilt expands even to the city. Wow. And it says here that there's no commutation of this guilt and that you must be killed by other people. Do you ever wonder why there's so much war? There's so much killing. And most of it is perpetrated and perpetuated by people involved in Abrahamic religions. It's blood guilt playing out. It's blood guilt playing out. So how would you get out of this if you could? Well, they say you can't, but as I read here, ladies and gentlemen, it is the guilt falls upon you by being in the family of one that shed innocent blood, by being of the city of one that shed innocent blood, by being of the generations of one that shed innocent blood. And can we talk for a minute about this concept of Jesus dying on the cross? Was Jesus innocent? I'll wait. Was Jesus innocent? Who was it that gave his only begotten son? I'll wait. Who was it that gave the order for Jesus to be killed? The Father. The God you sing songs about and pray to and worship. That's the one who gave the order. Who's guilty for the shedding of blood? The Father, the God of the Bible, the one you pray to, the one you offer to, the one that you live for, the one that you invited into your heart. And because you've invited him into your heart, now we get back to that Romans 8:11 again. He's promised to quicken your mortal body. I was thinking that he didn't want you to become immortal because you could get away, but what he's doing is, at least partially, continuing to bring you back in a mortal body that can be killed to continue to transfer his blood guilt to you because he loves you so much. He loves you so much. He wants you to take his sin upon you. And they say that he takes your sin upon him. It's the opposite world. It's the bizarro world. It's the upside down world. You take his sin upon you. We've got this thing all wrong, or we're seeing a new depth of it. It's all about blood. It's all about sacrifice. Blood, blood, blood. I pray the blood of Jesus over me. I'm covered with the blood. Can you see now why he's covering you with the blood? Do you see now why he wants you to claim the blood? Because he wants you to claim his guilt. People keep dying and he continues on. Why? Because you're taking the rap for him. You are taking his blood guilt and are allowing him, ladies and gentlemen, to continue on. You're allowing him to continue on. Wow. Wow. This is very, very powerful, ladies and gentlemen. This is very, very powerful, ladies and gentlemen. And according to the Jewish virtual library, he who sheds blood must be killed by man. Think of the implications of that. If the God of the Bible has shed innocent blood, which he has, if the God of the Bible has even sent his own son to death, and he has, then he is carrying blood guilt. And it is the duty of man, according to Judeo-Christian thought, to kill God. It is the duty of man to kill God, according to the Judeo-Christian religion. The logic is inescapable. Jeff, are you saying we should kill God? Yes and no. Yes and no. What I'm saying is that the God of the Bible is demonstrably guilty. The God of the Bible demonstrably has blood guilt. Without a doubt. He has blood guilt. And as long as you continue to remain in his family, of his generation, and a part of his city, you have the blood guilt, and you will continue to die. Or you can be like Emilio Estevez in Young Guns. When the judge said that Billy the Kid had blood guilt and he would have to hang from the neck till he was dead. Do you remember what Billy the Kid said? Billy the Kid said, "You can kiss my ass. How am I going to turn that into something spiritual? Well, here it is, folks. When you finally realize that the God that you've been worshiping is the biggest murderer of all time, that he does have blood guilt, and he's been transferring it to you, you can look at him who judges you and say, I opt out of your family. I opt out of your generation. I opt out of your city. I'm not part of your family anymore, God of the Bible. I'm not part of your generations anymore, God of the Bible. I'm not part of your city anymore, God of the Bible. And you can have your own blood guilt. And if you want to put it on me, you can kiss my ass. One ass for each pair of lips in the Holy Trinity. So that's how you get out of the blood guilt. But what about this concept of we've got to kill God? Well, we are not killers. We do not live according to these rules and these laws that the Judeo-Christian worldview has established. We are in their world because we're in their world, but we're not of their world, meaning we're not going to be bound by their rules. So, even though this God of the Bible does have blood guilt, and even though it is within their context, our duty to kill him We're not going to do that because we don't follow their rules. However, he does carry blood guilt, and we do carry the responsibility to deal with him. Why doesn't God do something? Because we've been too lazy to do something. So we're not going to kill the God of the Bible. We're not going to destroy the God of the Bible. But we are going to tell him, in the words of Billy the Kid, to kiss our ass. And we are going to depose him. We are going to dethrone him. And we are going to deport him from this dimension, from this planet, from his ability to harm and try to put his blood guilt upon any other free, divine, and sovereign entities. I think at least 10,000 years of guilt, blood guilt from some other little g God is enough. Jeff, are you saying that we are going to depose God? It's exactly what I'm saying. It's our duty. It's our duty. If you believe in what you say you believe in, then it's our duty. And we're well able for this task. We are well able to remove the God of the Bible, depose him, dethrone him, deport him. We won't kill him because we're not those kind of people. But we're not going to stand idly by and let him continue to perpetuate his heinous crimes upon the universe and continue to pass his blood guilt onto billions of unwitting, unknowing sheeples. Sometimes we have to stand up for the sheep when they won't stand up for themselves. And we have the responsibility as the awakened, as the enlightened, as the last generation of real humans to stand up and be counted and take our place. We have to depose him. We have to defeat him. We have to deport him. He's probably already run off, so all we have to do is enforce it. Can we do it? Absolutely. We'll begin to talk more about how we do it. And I know it sounds crazy, but it is the direct logical conclusion of the matter from start to finish. I can't wait to see what the chat room says. I cannot wait. It's safe to say you won't hear this anywhere else. I'm not sure if I'm Judeo-Christian, but I'm definitely going to get tested. If you're not sure, you're not. I mean, all you have to do is say, I'm not part of the family anymore. I'm not part of the generations anymore. I'm not part of the city anymore. I separate myself from the God of the Bible, and I cleanse myself from his blood guilt, period. It's just that easy. It's just that easy. Sometimes we make light of the words we use, which is very dangerous. I agree. The universe doesn't know when you're joking. Well, the universe assumes you're divine, you're sovereign, you're free, and you know what you're doing. That's the problem. The universe assumes you know what you're doing. So when you say stuff, it thinks you mean it. And it carries it forth as it is. That's why when we talk about, that's why I'm so against fear porn. Oh, Jeff's against fear porn because he doesn't like other people on YouTube. No, Jeff is against fear porn because Jeff understands the energetic implications of fear porn. And when the best among us, the ones that are supposed to be the most enlightened, are talking fear porn, then we're doing the job of the lowest. Maybe we're not as enlightened as we think we are. Maybe our real work begins when we decide we're enlightened, when we decide we're high conscious. It does sound like Yahweh, Shane, because it is Yahweh. So we must kill Yahweh for his shedding of innocent blood. Shane asked an early question. Shane was right on track with the thought. And Shane, I would say, no, we don't have to kill him. We have to depose him. We have to dethrone him, and we have to deport him. It's incumbent upon us as divine, sovereign, and free beings. And maybe that's why we keep coming back until we get the job done. Until we get the job done. Hello, Troy and St. Pete. I suppose Yahweh decides who's innocent or not. Isn't that great? Isn't that a great gig? You get to decide who's innocent or not. He has people do his wet work. Sounds like a crime boss. If people are involved in war, they're not innocent. Not once they understand what they're involved in. Ignorance of the law really is, in some cases, an excuse. I don't think that people are held accountable for things they don't understand. But once you do understand it, and or once there's such a preponderance of evidence available for you to understand it, then you begin to take on a responsibility. But I'm not sitting in a seat of judgment, even though it looks like I'm sitting in a judge's seat. I'm not sitting in the place where I can say that you are guilty because you haven't learned. You are guilty because you haven't changed. I can show you the objective data, and I can show you and make you aware of all this information. But who knows when someone gets it? Who knows when someone understands it? Who knows when I have to realize that many times I'm talking to people that are so still Stockholm syndromed that they can't begin. They're still filled with the blood guilt, and they can't allow it to sink into them. And instead of yelling at them and calling them stupid and running them off, I need to learn to be more empathetic towards them and continue to deliver the information to them. And if they keep coming back, I keep delivering the information, and sooner or later, it becomes their time. It's like being out in the ocean you're on an ocean liner, the boat has sank. And I remember having this debate with one of the district presbyters when I was one of the few times I was a pastor in Oregon. They sent me to this church to turn it around. We were turning it around. But a lot of the people that were coming were gay couples. I had a gay couple come in, lesbian couple, got saved, quote unquote. They were learning, they were growing, but they were gay. And a lot of people in the church didn't like it when they started bringing their gay friends. So I go to a church that has like 8 people. All of a sudden there's 80, but 25 of them are gay. They would rather have empty seats in the church than gay people. I get called on the carpet and I say, well, here's the way I look at it. If they're gay and they're in church, there's a chance they might get saved. If they're gay and they're not in church, there's no chance they might get saved. You can see the way my brain used to work. But in this instance, if we're in a lifeboat because our ship has gone down, if I throw you out of the lifeboat, you're surely going to die. You're going to get eaten by sharks. You're going to drown. You're done. But the longer I can keep you in that lifeboat, the greater the chances are that you're going to make it to shore. So I've made it my new effort to be more empathetic and to keep people in the lifeboat as long as I can, instead of grabbing them and tossing them over the side and watching the splash because it feels good. Because I am so high and enlightened that it's my duty to bash and crash and smash people that aren't as high and enlightened as I am. How are people of low consciousness supposed to raise their level of consciousness if it's not hanging around people that supposedly have higher consciousness? Sometimes we get so smart thinking we're so high and mighty and we can judge. Yeah, it's a revelation. So really, I should say I apologize to those of you that I've come on too strong on and smashed you and bashed you because you weren't ready to get right in Jeff's time. Well, I welcome you to take your time. And even if you don't like me, even if you think I'm a jerk, well, there's a reason you're still here. So keep coming back, stay in the lifeboat, and we'll keep paddling together, and we'll see what happens as we get closer to shore. Yahweh hires hitmen, and I used to be one of them, and probably more recently than I like to think. It does sound like organized crime because it is organized crime. Now, that's cunning. Yes, it is. I think that we ignore him. Don't give him our energy so that he dies. Cynthia L., boom. Yes and no, yes and no. Can we ignore him, Cynthia? If we ignore him, isn't that like ignoring poison in the well? Well, you know what? There's poison in that well, but we'll let people keep drinking from it because we want to ignore that poison. It'll go away. I understand your point. I understand the energetic nature of your point. But I wonder if, and this is just talking, I wonder if there's got to be a balance because he is a fiend. We have to let the world know about it. I'm just going through it in my mind. We have to let the world know about it. But does he retain strength by us talking about him? Boy, that's a conundrum wrapped in a riddle surrounded with a question. That's a tough one. We got to let the people know the well is poisoned. Yeah, that's a good one. That really is a good one. But we can talk about him, I guess, without, I don't know. That's a good one. We'll have to ponder that. It is still on him if he ordered it. The army of the Lord. Yeah, think about that then. My magic book is better than yours. Absolutely. Was Winnie the Pooh innocent? I'm not sure how Winnie the Pooh figures in. That's kind of funny. Many people still subscribe to the Christian mythos, so we must contextualize for their sake. I get it. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Thinking about starving him out, but we can't just ignore him. I don't see how we can just ignore him because then he'll continue to take people down with him because he's never going to. So here's the key. If we ignore him, people will continue to worship him. And it's the worship of those people that feed him and fuel him and keep him coming back and keep him strong. So when it's an energetic trade-off. It is. It's a trade-off because undoubtedly he does get some power. Thank you for bringing this to me. Undoubtedly he does get some power by us talking about him, discussing him. He does gain some power. That's why I don't say a name anymore. I just say the being that calls himself God or the God of the Bible because I don't think there's much juice in that. I don't use the name that he has chosen for himself because there is energetic power in that name. It's not just because I'm superstitious. It's because I'm trying to think in energetic terms. So if we warn about the God of the Bible, and we probably shouldn't even say the LORD word anymore because that probably has some energetic juice. But as we warn about the God of the Bible, then people stop worshiping him or reduce the worship of him. So he gets weaker. So really, if we do it right, ignoring him's the last thing we should do. We should talk more about the God of the Bible, uncover more of the errors of the God of the Bible, the wrongs of the God of the Bible, the wickedness of the God of the Bible, the illogic of the God of the Bible, and the heinous nature of the God of the Bible, like him putting his guilt on you and bringing you back over and over and over so you can bear it and he can skate. And that should make you say, dude, I'm not worshiping him. I would think it would make you do that at some point. Dude, I'm not worshiping him. Then he loses steam and power and energy and sustenance. So thank you for causing that mental exercise, Cynthia. And I think that we could agree if we were sitting around a table that, yeah, that makes sense. We have to warn people about him. Let's not use his name because that gets people to stop worshiping. And there will come a point when so few people are worshiping anymore that then we can just begin to ignore him and not give him any juice whatsoever to stay alive. I'm not sure if Elsie's talking about me or the God of the Bible when she says, I'm so sick of this asshat and waves goodbye. Oh, she's speaking of the God of the Bible. And even I think writing the name like that has power. But you know what? Writing the name like that name called the Tetragrammaton, it has power. And I'm not sure that it still doesn't have resident balanced power, and that the being that's using that name has usurped it as his own. So when we can probably, and this is something I learned it's taken me a while to learn, we can use that name and that Tetragrammaton if we're not associating it with the God of the Bible, and probably be fine. But that takes a little maturity. That takes a little energetic know-how. That takes some understanding. If you're new to this, I would say avoid that name, because it's so ingrained within you to connect it to the God of the Bible. Me, 38 plus years, I'm now at the place where I can separate that Tetragrammaton from the poser in the Bible that has appropriated it. And I could, in magical working, employ that name without giving anything to the pipsqueak of the Christian scriptures. But it takes a minute to get there. Hopefully, it won't take you 38 years. It took me that. I'm slow, but I'm steady. So I finally got there, or at least I've kind of got to the place where I might be in the neighborhood of getting there. So we're understanding a few things anyway. And Tracy Dyer hits the nail on the head. Why does the God of the Bible have other people do the killing? Because he can't do the killing. He's not strong enough. He's the wizard. He's the wizard. And his wizardry behind that curtain is making you do his bidding, making you accept his blood guilt. And he's been doing it with uber success for at least 10,000 years. Isn't it time you stop carrying his guilt? Isn't it time you stop paying his price? Opposite, inverse, bizarro. He says he takes your sins upon him. No. You take his sins upon you. That's why you die and keep dying. And the deal he works with you is, hey, I'll give you eternal life. He's not giving you anything that's not yours already. I'll keep bringing you back in this mortal body so you can die again and again and again and again and again and take my blood guilt, and I can just continue on. Deal? Deal. Great. Let's shake on it. That's the deal you've made. But the good news is that's a deal you can unmake. You've been holding somebody else's guilt for too long. You wouldn't do that from a person. Why are you doing that from a pipsqueak deity? Ladies and gentlemen, why? Why do we think this is true when 99% of the Bible is BS? Exactly. The duty. We can't kill what didn't exist. He did exist. And he probably does exist. We can, we've already talked about the ignoring thing. I think we got together on that. I don't even want to say his name, Joyce. I really don't. I really don't want to. Take your power back and weaken it. I agree. Clean up this mess, Jeff. We're doing it. Teach your children before they reach your children. Ooh. Teach your children before they reach your children. You know, we'll have to talk about this someday, but I think that, well, let me just put it this way. If I had a chance to raise my kids again, I'd do it much differently. I would teach my kids as early and as often as possible to understand their divinity, their sovereignty, and their freedom. And Scotty Roberts did a really good job of this one time. His little girl, Rowan Claire, he gave her this really nice, one of those things you sit in and you pedal around like a Barbie car or something. And she said, can I draw on my Barbie car? He's like, you can draw on your Barbie car, but if you draw on it, you've made that choice and it won't come off, and you're probably not going to be happy with it all covered up and dirty with drawings and stuff. So sure enough, he gave her the pen and she was divine, she was sovereign, she was free, she drew all over the car, and 2 days later she was crying about, my car's ruined. You ruined it. Welcome to the real world. You get to do things that you want to do, but you get to live with the results as well. That's good parenting. That's good parenting. And I'll bet when she gets her first car, she's not going to take a magic marker to it, because she learned that she was divine. She learned that she was sovereign. She learned that she was free. She learned she can do what she wants to do. And she learned she gets to pedal around in the results of it. That's the way I would teach my children more today. I would give them divinity. I would give them sovereignty. I would give them freedom. And I would give them the reality of, okay, this is what you get to live with. We are happy contrarians, TT. Generation are snookered, but we have to say, I'm not part of your generation anymore, God of the Bible. I'm opting out, and I'm opting out of the guilt. You can take your own guilt. You can deal with your own guilt. Boom. I like it. Lisa, you're funny. I'll show that. Real quickly, trying to get through these. Boy, it jumped on me. There's a lot of talking here today. Yeah, I may not be able to get through this, but that's all right. That's all right. I need a creamy latte. Ooh, a creamy latte would be great. I had a chat with a Christian the other day. Couldn't even crack a spirit of inquiry from her. Too unindoctrinated. Just not her time. Keep her in the lifeboat if you can. Move on. Just move on. I was that person at one time, ladies and gentlemen. I was that person at one time. Enlightening words, Jeff. Thank you, Troy. Time is a traveler, Jeff. That makes sense. Let's see. Perhaps I stated my point incorrectly. No, I think we got to the end of that, Cynthia. Be more nonchalant when talking about him. Yes and no. Minimize him. Yes and no. I wouldn't even call him that word, Joyce, because there's unction and power in that name too. That's my deal. And I'm with Karen. She's a little more abrupt than I would be, because I'm very nice and calm and careful not to unnecessarily upset anyone. And I'm always thinking about people's feelings. I'm a humanitarian. I'm always thinking about people's feelings because I want to keep everyone in the boat. I don't really want to upset anyone and have them run off. And maybe Karen will get to the point that I'm at one of these days. Stop calling him the original fake ass names. Laugh at him because you know the code. Oh, that's good. And I was gonna do this thing called, I don't want to say it. Yeah, defenders of the code. Defending prophecy, defending scripture, which really is the code that Inky's using to write this matrix. So we're defending the code of the matrix. Oh, I say let's stop defending it and let's start upending it. Let's rewrite it. Let's overwrite it. Let's change it. Or and in so doing, we can make it so inconsequential that, again, the bullets stop. You don't have to dodge anymore. Just stop. But that means hacking. Oh, and if the code can't be overwritten, it can damn sure be hacked, cousin. And we're in the hacking business. We're in the matrix hacking business. And business is a booming. That's all I got to say about that. That's all I got to say about that, grasshopper. Yahweh is a product of uncontrolled desires. Ooh, good one, KW. Good one, KW. My son asked about the Bible. I said, read it. He started and said, nope. I would have shared with him. I wouldn't read it because there's nothing in there for you, but it is the game plan of the enemy, and then let him do it. That's interesting. Wow. That's interesting. Good girl opted out of the guilt and accepts the choices that she makes. Good for you. How does God make coffee? He brews it. Chrissy, that's so old. But I did get a little chuckle from it. Ooh, coffee. I want some coffee. I agree, Jeff. I've had hacking issues lately. That's all right. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. That's why you got your brothers and your sisters. I thought, Herman says, I thought in Yale was the one against us. We were talking about this the other day. And hopefully we're going to have Robert Stanley Monday night to talk about this in The Last Stand. Are Eniel and Inky two different people, or are they two sides of a psychopathic God? And it appears from listening to and reading all of the text that they switch. Sometimes Eniel's the bad one, sometimes Inky's the bad one. It's a good cop, bad cop thing. Inky seems to be, at least of late within our memory, to be more of the, he lets us know more. I don't say he's a good guy, but he lets us know more. And remember, Robert Stanley met Inky and decided after much meditation and much time and much consideration that Inky had duped him. That's what Inky does. And let's just say this. If you can dupe Robert Stanley, that's saying something. I'll just leave it there. They're brothers. Are they brothers, or are they two opposite sides of a psychopathic little G God? I don't know. Maybe there are definitely wardens. Inky, Noah, Enlil, Gilgamesh, two sides, same coin. We know they're both two wings on the same dirty bird. And Daniel talked about dirty birds inhabiting and trying to keep us down. Somebody help me. I know there's a guy that wrote and we're closing with this. He wrote a translation of the Sumerian text, but it wasn't Sitchin. So it's the non-Sitchin Sumerian text. Somebody email me at gothamltd@gmail.com. Somebody go to jeffreydaugherty.com, go down to the bottom to the contact, work with me thing, put in the book and the dude that wrote that. Nixon says, well, my world is ruined. You ruined it. Nixon 223, my world is ruined. You ruined it. Nixon 223, congratulations. Congratulations. Because in order to be free from your captor, the wall's got to crumble down, cousin. Your world is ruined. Now you're free to build your own, because you weren't living in your world. You were living in somebody else's world. Now that world that you were living in is ruined, now you can begin to build your own. Congratulations, Nixon 223. And I'm so glad you're here. Don't jump out of the lifeboat. Stay around. And you might see some things here that could help you get some ideas on how to build your world. How about that? Oh, look at that. The scriptures say, ask and it shall be given. And I was just thinking about coffee, and magically appears some hot coffee with real cream in it, heavy cream. And trust me, cousins, it's hot. Thank you so much. The author of SitchinIsWrong.com. Thank you, Shane. We need to get into that because I think SitchinIsWrong.com. I'm like a drug addict. I had to hit rock bottom. Yeah, we all did. You know what? Never trust somebody who says they're on top if they never hit rock bottom. Oh, every now and then they just come to me. Every now and then they just come to me. Oh, Nixon, damn you, sir or madam. Why you want to put a picture of a tasty, wonderful donut next to a steamy cup of coffee? That's just not right. I don't want to covet donuts, but now I can't stop thinking about donuts, and there's not a donut within 20 miles of me. So thanks a lot, Nixon. That's what I get for wrecking your world. How about that magic? I did manifest some hot coffee, huh? Boop! There it is. And any day now, the shut up, hot cup of shut up will be ready. It takes a while to make your own coffee from scratch. I'm learning. Okay. Who brought you the coffee? Where's mine? A hot, steamy cup of shut up. It's on its way. And I want coffee. Yep. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Blood guilt, responsibility, get out. And we do retain the energetic and the universal judicial responsibility to remove this blood god of our system. We have universal judicial liability. We have universal judicial jurisdiction, and we have universal judicial responsibility to remove this failed, flawed God. I think Wayne Steiger would agree with me. And it would be easier to go up there and shoot him and drag him out and throw his carcass into the dogs, but we don't do that. So we will dethrone, dispose, and deport. We really don't have a choice. We've got the judicial responsibility to do so. And we'll keep coming back again and again and again till we fulfill our responsibilities. That's really what this is all about. This whole Christian whistleblower thing, this whole divine sovereign free thing, this whole reincarnation, really the whole key to this matrix is, will these fools learn to do what they have to do, and will they do it? Can we do it so this game can end and we can move on to a higher challenge, a new place, a new dimension, and a new opportunity of enlightenment? And let me say this, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to get political on the show, but right now our nation is in the balance of perhaps a tragedy happening with regards to warfare. We're supposed to be the enlightened. We're supposed to be the highest. We're supposed to be the most awake people. So can we take the chance of being wrong and speak words of energetic harmony and say there will be no war with Iran? President Trump will make a deal with Iran. Can we put and I'm feeling, wow, powerful goosebumps and energy just boiling out of me as I say this. Can we join? Ow, boy. Can we join and say, can we join and create energetic space? There won't be a war with Iran. This nation won't be at war with Iran. President Trump will figure out a way. Even if you hate Trump, you can't love war, not and be here. Even if you hate Trump, you can't love the death of people, not and be here. So right now, I speak with my power and authority as a divine, sovereign, and free being. I speak. We need to get Wayne to do this. We'll do this on Sunday morning. I speak words of peace. I speak words of compromise. I speak words of diplomatic resolution over the Iran-USA situation. We're divine, we're sovereign, we're free, we're the last generation of real people. Do we believe what we say? I think we do. Do we know who we are? I think we do. The winners write history. So let's get busy winning today and writing a better tomorrow. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower. Go in peace and unindoctrinate yourself.